everyone. Today I will be presenting about the misconducts of Dr. Brunings, which are presenting in the article. In 1987, the National Institute of Mental Health found a paper contained fake data and it was just retracted. First, we're going to start with the researcher background. The name of the researcher was Stephen E. Bruning. He was an assistant professor of child psychiatry at the University of Pittsburgh and was a promising researcher in the field of psychopharmacology. His research primarily focused on the effects of behavioral drugs like methylphenidate on individuals with intellectual disabilities. His work was initially celebrated, but later it was found that he committed multiple ethical violations and falsification of data in his articles, which eventually ended his career and reputation. Browning's misconduct was characterized by the fabrication and falsification of data. This was found in 10 journal articles and 5 book chapters that were built on fictitious experiments that never occurred. He claimed to use rigorous methodologies and interpreted the fabricated results to fit his hypothesis. This fraudulent research was funded by 2 grants from the National Institute of Mental Health. Later on, the National Institute of Mental Health started an investigation in 1987 that later revealed the fraud, concluded that none of the described experiments were ever conducted. There were several signs that flagged Browning's work. First, the sample sizes that he reported were unrealistically large for someone in his position as a graduate student. Second, the results that he presented were unnaturally clean and overly consistent with his hypothesis, and in real-world data, this does not happen. There's more variability in results. His claims of extraordinary effects from simple interventions were also another sign. For example, he suggested that brief behavioral interventions could significantly alter IQ scores and academic outcomes, which was later found that this was not true. Okay, now moving on the impact of the misconduct. On the researcher, Bruning was convicted of fraud and his career ended completely in research and in the institution, and his reputation was damaged irreparably. Now on the effect of science, this was a very significant case for science since it was the catalyst for the creation of the Office of Research of Integrity in 1992, which prevents and investigates misconduct in federally funded research. However, the delayed recognition of his fraud created significant setbacks. Journals struggled to retract his articles, and it wasn't until 2021, over 35 years later, that psychologist Russell Warren revisited the case, and because of this action, it led to further retractions and underscored the importance of vigilance in handling cases of misconduct. Browning's co-authors also faced different consequences. Their reputation was also damaged just by association, and now moving on the University of Pittsburgh, it also faced significant public and academic criticism for failing to detect and prevent such misconduct. Other misconduct impacts could have been that other different researchers were slowed since resources were used to investigate and address this fraud, and genuine research was slowed. Now moving on public health, it had a big impact because he was working with treatments of vulnerable populations, and for example, one of his retracted papers, Effects of Methylphenidate on the Fixed Ratio Performance of Mentally Retarded Children, had the potential to mislead clinical practices and policies related to the treatment of different disabilities. This case demonstrates the dangers of fraudulent data in fields that directly affect human health. The field of psychopharmacology itself suffered as well because researchers were delayed with this research and meaningful advancements were slowed. His data even skewed meta-analysis such as Duckworth's work, inflating conclusions about the efficacy of behavioral interventions. To conclude this presentation, this case is just a reminder of the consequences of research misconduct, not only on the researcher, but also on the co-authors, the institution, and the field of study. It also highlights how important is a fast response and how it would have avoided a lot of the damages that it did. And this case, it also emphasizes the importance of ethical and transparent research to restore trust in science and ensure that the research continues to serve a greater good. Thank you.